Most men believe attraction is built through action, saying the right thing, doing more, proving worth, explaining intentions. But what if the strongest pull doesn't come from movement at all? What if the quality that makes a man unforgettable is something far quieter? Stillness isn't absence, it's presence without noise. And when a man masters this inner stillness, people feel him before he ever speaks. Stillness is often misunderstood, especially by men trying to embody strength. Many confuse it with passivity, imagining a still man as someone who does nothing, who waits for the world to move around him, or who lacks ambition and drive. But true stillness is the exact opposite. It is not about absence or inaction. It is about complete emotional self-control. A man who has mastered stillness does not react impulsively to every stimulus, does not allow his emotions to dictate his behavior, and does not collapse into chaos when circumstances are uncertain. Emotional self-control means he is able to feel fully and deeply, yet he does not let those feelings consume him. He can experience frustration, desire, or disappointment without becoming a slave to them, without letting them spill over into his words or actions in ways that weaken his presence. This is the subtle difference that separates the men who are magnetic from the men who are merely loud. The ability to remain emotionally controlled is not born out of suppression or avoidance. It is a deliberate choice to respond rather than react, to observe rather than explode. A still man feels the storm within, but does not let the storm dictate his rhythm. This inner regulation is magnetic because it communicates safety, stability, and strength without the need for explanation. People around him sense that he is anchored, that he is not easily disturbed, and this creates an unspoken trust. Emotional self-control is not about being cold or detached. It is about being fully present while remaining sovereign over your own internal state. When a man is still in this way, he becomes a point of equilibrium in the room, someone whose energy others naturally gravitate toward because it signals calm amidst the chaos of the world. Stillness also allows a man to observe dynamics without being consumed by them. When he listens without rushing to respond, when he watches without immediately judging, he gathers insight that most reactive men miss entirely. Emotional self-control sharpens perception because it creates a space between stimulus and reaction, a space in which clarity grows. It allows him to choose his words carefully, to act decisively rather than impulsively, and to maintain dignity even when tested. Women in particular notice this quality because it communicates that a man can handle pressure without collapsing, that he is dependable even when emotions run high, and that his value is not determined by the fleeting whims of external circumstances. The stillness of emotional self-control makes a man reliable, predictable in his stability, yet mysterious in the restraint of his impulses. Furthermore, stillness is a signal of internal strength. Men who overexpress or react to every situation often reveal their insecurity without realizing it. Their noise becomes a mask for their inner instability. In contrast, a man who cultivates stillness shows that he trusts himself, trusts his own judgment, and does not need validation from others to feel secure. He can confront conflict without aggression, he can navigate challenges without panic, and he can pursue desire without desperation. Emotional self-control allows him to act from a position of power rather than need, and this is inherently magnetic. Others are drawn to him not because he chases attention, but because he radiates a calm, measured presence that signals he is unshakable. Mastering stillness is not easy because it requires consistent self-awareness, honesty with oneself, and a willingness to sit with discomfort rather than flee from it. A man must learn to observe his emotions without judgment, to feel without flinching, and to respond without losing composure. It is a practice that deepens with time, patience, and intentionality. And the more a man cultivates it, the more naturally magnetic he becomes. Stillness is not withdrawal. It is command over one's own inner world, a demonstration that strength does not need to be loud, that power does not need to be forced, and that attraction grows quietly through control rather than chaos. A calm man has a presence that is felt long before he speaks. There is an invisible field around him, a quiet assurance that seems to steady the air in the room. This is what creates psychological safety, though it is rarely noticed consciously. Psychological safety is the sense that it is okay to be vulnerable, to express emotions, to make mistakes without fear of judgment or chaos. And a calm man provides this naturally, without announcing it, without trying to convince anyone, and without performing for approval. His calm is not learned through repetition of phrases or deliberate tactics. It is the result of inner mastery, a consistency between what he feels, what he thinks, and how he acts. Women and people in general sense this on a subconscious level because humans are wired to detect emotional alignment. And when a man is internally grounded, it communicates reliability, stability, and trust. The calm man does not react to provocation with tension or anger. He does not escalate arguments to assert dominance, nor does he chase approval to validate worth. Instead, he creates a space in which others feel seen and held. This does not mean he sacrifices his own boundaries or suppresses his emotions. Rather, he maintains clarity and composure even when circumstances are tense. Psychological safety emerges not because he tells others it exists, but because his energy signals that the environment is secure. People unconsciously mirror his calm, and in doing so, the room shifts. The emotional thermostat rises or falls depending on who holds the center, and a man who embodies calm naturally sets the tone for emotional stability. Others are drawn toward this stability, seeking refuge in the fact that they will not be met with chaos or unpredictability. Creating psychological safety also means a calm man communicates through actions more than words. He listens without judgment, he responds with measured intention, and he demonstrates reliability in ways that are subtle yet powerful. Women, in particular, notice this without even realizing it because safety is something felt rather than articulated. When a man remains grounded while others fluctuate, it sends a message that he is capable of holding space for emotions, that he can manage conflict without compromising his own center, and that he values presence over performance. His calm signals that he is available to connect deeply, not because he is reactive or eager, but because he is steady enough to support connection without destabilizing it. The magnetism of calm also comes from its contrast to the chaos of the outside world. Most people live in reactivity, snapping at triggers, projecting anxieties, and seeking constant stimulation. When a man is calm, he becomes a point of equilibrium against this backdrop of turbulence. He does not need to manipulate, persuade, or impress. The safety he creates draws people in naturally. They feel that they can express themselves fully without risk of rejection or emotional volatility. This makes his presence rare and valuable, not because of what he says, but because of how he carries himself. Calm becomes a language in itself, one that communicates strength, stability, and trustworthiness without a single word. Furthermore, creating psychological safety without effort requires a man to be self-sufficient emotionally. He does not rely on others to regulate his mood, validate his worth, or soothe his anxieties. His internal world is sufficient to handle discomfort, tension, and uncertainty, and this sufficiency allows him to show up fully for others. The calm man embodies patience, restraint, and awareness. And because he does, people around him feel less fear, less pressure, and less need to perform. They relax in his presence, unconsciously aligning with his energy, and this is where authentic connection, attraction, and influence are born. Psychological safety is not granted through words, promises, or gestures alone. It is generated by energy that is consistent, measured, and grounded. A calm man, by simply existing in alignment with himself, creates an environment where others can be vulnerable without risk, can trust without doubt, and can lean into connection without fear. And this ability to quietly hold space is one of the most magnetic qualities a man can cultivate. Silence is one of the most underrated tools a man can use to communicate confidence. In a world where people rush to fill every gap with words, a man who remains quiet, measured, and selective in what he says immediately stands apart. Silence does not indicate ignorance, weakness, or lack of engagement. It signals control, self-possession, and assurance. The need to constantly explain oneself, justify actions, or prove intentions comes from insecurity, from the belief that others must be convinced in order to respect or understand you. A man who has cultivated silence knows that explanation is rarely required when presence is strong, when energy is grounded, and when the weight of his character speaks louder than words ever could. This kind of silence communicates that he trusts himself, trusts the situation, and trusts the perception of others to align naturally without interference. The power of silence lies in its ability to create space. When a man stops talking to clarify, defend, or impress, he allows others to fill the gaps themselves. Women, in particular, subconsciously notice this space and are drawn to it because it gives them room to project curiosity, interest, and emotion without pressure. Silence is not emptiness, it is intentional containment. A man who uses silence effectively communicates that he does not need validation, that he does not seek approval, and that he is unshakable regardless of how others respond. In contrast, excessive explanation signals anxiety, overthinking, and a lack of confidence, and it diminishes magnetism. Words can dilute presence, whereas well-timed silence amplifies it, making a man feel larger, more mysterious, and more self-assured. Silence also allows observation and assessment. A man who does not immediately speak in reaction to every stimulus can notice micro-expressions, underlying tensions, and subtle shifts in behavior that others miss. He does not interrupt the natural flow of energy with unnecessary commentary, which allows him to respond thoughtfully rather than impulsively. This kind of selective engagement communicates intelligence and emotional maturity. People around him subconsciously register that he is not reactive, that he is composed, and that he understands dynamics beyond what is spoken. The confidence projected through silence is not about intimidation. It is about demonstrating that control over one's own energy and communication is far more compelling than the frantic need to explain oneself. Furthermore, silence builds tension, intrigue, and desire. When a man refrains from over-explaining, he becomes a question in the mind of others, a presence that commands attention simply by not revealing everything at once. Curiosity grows because the unknown always carries a pull stronger than certainty. People lean in to understand, to connect, and to anticipate, and this anticipation creates attraction that words alone cannot generate. Silence in this way is a strategic expression of confidence. It allows his energy to speak, it shows restraint, and it conveys depth. It communicates that he values quality over quantity, thought over impulse, and impact over noise. A man who masters silence also teaches others to respect boundaries. By not filling every pause with speech, he communicates that his time, energy, and presence are valuable. This unspoken rule creates an environment where interactions are meaningful rather than performative. Silence becomes a language of authority and self-worth. When paired with composure, attentiveness, and emotional regulation, it makes a man magnetic in ways that explanation, persuasion, or justification never could. People sense the confidence in measured quiet, the mastery of self-restraint, and the subtle power of being fully present without the need to assert dominance. Approval or clarity, emotional restraint, is one of the quietest yet most powerful tools a man can possess when it comes to attraction and influence. Many people misunderstand emotion as something that must be displayed openly to demonstrate depth or authenticity. They believe that the more they reveal, the more relatable or compelling they become. The truth is almost the opposite. Emotional restraint, the ability to feel deeply without immediately broadcasting every reaction, communicates a value that words alone cannot capture. When a man controls his responses, measures his emotional output, and chooses carefully what to reveal, he signals to others that he is grounded, stable, and self-sufficient. This restraint creates a magnetic tension. People sense that there is more beneath the surface than what is being shared, and this subtle mystery increases his perceived worth in ways that explanation or overexpression never could. The key to emotional restraint lies not in suppression, but in mastery. A man who is emotionally restrained does not deny his feelings. He experiences them fully and privately, processing internally before deciding if or when to share externally. This internal processing allows him to respond from a place of clarity rather than impulse. By choosing when to reveal vulnerability, he retains control over the narrative of his own energy. The effect on others is immediate. They feel drawn to him because he is reliable, self-contained, and intriguing. Emotional restraint signals that he is not a reactive, needy, or dependent presence. It communicates that he values himself enough to regulate his own internal state, and that he is capable of holding tension without collapsing. Mystery is an inevitable byproduct of emotional restraint. When a man does not immediately divulge what he thinks, what he feels, or what he wants, he creates an invisible space around him that invites curiosity and attention. People instinctively lean into that space, seeking understanding, connection, or insight. This kind of intrigue is not manufactured. It is the natural result of self-possession. The less predictable a man's emotional responses are, the more they captivate attention, and the more his energy feels rare and valuable. A man who overshares, over-explains, or overreacts diminishes this effect because he removes the tension, the questions, and the subtle pull that draws others in. Mystery amplifies perception of value because humans are naturally drawn to what is not fully understood, to what challenges their assumptions, and to what requires patience and engagement. To unravel emotional restraint also protects a man's presence in high-stakes situations. In moments of conflict, desire, or uncertainty, those who react impulsively often lose authority, credibility, or attraction. The restrained man, however, maintains equilibrium. He can navigate challenges without letting his internal state dictate his external behavior. This ability to manage emotional energy conveys strength without aggression, depth without vulnerability overload, and confidence without arrogance. People notice this on a subconscious level. They sense that he is capable of handling complexity, pressure, and unpredictability with poise. Emotional restraint becomes a silent language that communicates stability, competence, and self-worth. Finally, emotional restraint allows a man to cultivate selective vulnerability. Because he does not give away every emotion freely, the moments when he does choose to share become significantly more impactful. This selectivity enhances perceived value, amplifies connection, and deepens attraction. People are drawn to him not just for what he shows, but for the promise of what lies beneath, the layers of his inner world that are revealed in their own time. Emotional restraint is therefore not a limitation, but a form of power. It preserves energy, maintains autonomy, and generates a magnetic tension that others cannot resist. And it creates a presence that feels rare, composed, and compelling in every interaction. Grounded presence is the invisible force that affects people long before words are spoken or actions are noticed. It is the quality of energy a man carries when he is fully anchored in himself, when he is aware of his own center, and when he does not rely on external circumstances or validation to define his stability. This presence communicates calm authority, emotional reliability, and confidence without requiring explanation. Attraction, at its core, is not always conscious. It is often experienced at a visceral, subconscious level. When a man is grounded, his energy communicates that he is unshakable, secure, and capable of navigating life's uncertainties. People sense this stability instinctively, and it triggers feelings of safety, curiosity, and admiration without the need for effort or performance. Grounded presence is magnetic because it operates beneath the surface of awareness, influencing emotions and perception before reasoning even begins. The effect of grounded presence is subtle yet undeniable. It is expressed through posture, tone, eye contact, and the measured pace of speech. It is not loud or forceful. It does not seek attention, approval, or validation. Instead, it resonates naturally, creating a field of calm around the man that others unconsciously align with. Women, in particular, are highly attuned to this energy. They notice not just what is said, but the emotional quality behind it, the steadiness of a man's energy in the face of uncertainty, and the way he navigates interaction without being reactive. This subconscious recognition of grounded presence triggers attraction because humans are wired to respond to stability, reliability, and strength. It reassures the nervous system that this man can be trusted to handle tension, conflict, or emotional intensity without losing himself. A grounded man does not need to prove himself through words or gestures. He creates connection simply by existing in alignment with his internal state. His attention is focused, not scattered, and his energy is consistently regulated. This consistency signals to others that he is predictable in his reliability, even when he is unpredictable in action or intention. Grounded presence is not about controlling others. It is about controlling oneself. When a man demonstrates this, attraction grows organically because it is based on subconscious cues rather than conscious persuasion. People feel drawn to him because his energy provides a contrast to the instability, overreaction, and emotional chaos they experience in daily life. This contrast creates tension, desire, and curiosity, all of which are essential ingredients of deep magnetic attraction. Furthermore, grounded presence amplifies all other masculine qualities. It enhances confidence because he does not rely on others to regulate his mood or validate his choices. It enhances mystery because he does not need to over-explain or reveal every thought or feeling. It enhances value because his energy signals that he is self-contained, self-reliant, and emotionally intelligent. People experience this presence before they even know what they are feeling. It bypasses logic and speaks directly to the subconscious mind. The result is attraction that is effortless, natural, and compelling. It creates a dynamic where others are drawn in not by the narrative he constructs, but by the stability, clarity, and assurance his presence radiates. Grounded presence is cultivated through self-awareness, discipline, and emotional regulation. A man must learn to sit with discomfort without losing composure, to respond rather than react, and to maintain alignment with his values and priorities regardless of external chaos. The more he cultivates this presence, the stronger its magnetic effect becomes. Attraction arises because grounded energy communicates a fundamental truth. This man is whole, capable, and fully present, and it is impossible not to notice the way his presence resonates with the subconscious mind. Masculine polarity is not created by over-explaining, overreacting, or trying too hard to be seen. It is cultivated through the delicate balance of being unreactive while remaining fully attentive. A man who is unreactive does not allow external circumstances, emotions, or provocations to dictate his internal state. He does not collapse into drama, anger, or defensiveness when tension arises. Yet at the same time, he is attentive, present, engaged, and aware of the emotional and energetic dynamics around him. This combination of calm authority and conscious awareness creates a magnetic tension that is the essence of masculine polarity. Women and people in general are drawn to this energy because it signals that he is both safe and compelling, reliable and powerful, accessible yet not desperate for connection. The strength of being unreactive lies in the ability to maintain composure even in emotionally charged situations. Most men react impulsively, trying to prove themselves or manage outcomes, and in doing so, they lose the quiet power of polarity. Emotional volatility communicates need, instability, or insecurity, which diminishes attraction. Mystery is enhanced because he does not reveal every thought or emotion immediately. Attraction grows naturally because people sense that he is not available for validation, but is available for connection on his terms. This balance between unreactive composure and attentive presence communicates that he is grounded, confident, and emotionally intelligent, a combination that is inherently magnetic and rare. The cultivation of masculine polarity requires practice and self-awareness. A man must learn to observe his internal responses, regulate impulses, and maintain focus on the moment, rather than being swept away by external fluctuations. He must balance receptivity with restraint, desire with patience, and attention with composure. Over time, this balance becomes intuitive, and the polarity he exudes is felt subconsciously by those around him. Women, in particular, respond to this energy because it signals both safety and potency. The